In KingSim, you get the chance to get the full kingly experience from raising an army, dealing with foreign diplomats, expanding your kingdom, arranging marriages, and suffering untimely ends. Time and time again. It's not easy being the king. You have the comfiest chair in all the land, and your numerous enemies will stop at nothing to get your fat ass out of it. From invading armies, scheming nobles, thieves, witches, dragons, and escaping prisoners, all manner of terrible fates await the new king. Luckily for you, your trusty advisor is there to help with every aspect of your kingly duties. Unless, of course, you have him executed. But you wouldn't do that, would you? In my first days as king, I ruled fairly. I held court to settle disputes and accepted refugees to build a town outside of my castle. I should have considered who these people were refugeeing from, as an angry horde strolls into my kingdom, re-refugees my people, and forcibly establishes separation of powers between my head and my neck. What this game lacks in graphics, it more than makes up for it in branching story paths. Kinda like a Telltale game, but good. There's over 100 different endings resulting in your death, and even a few where you survive. A small decision can and will send you on a completely different path, meaning there's a ton to explore and room to experiment, as most of the deaths are reasonably fair. With this in mind, I dedicate my next run to being ready. Instead of court, I spend my time training my knights. Instead of helping the peasants, I massacre them. May their smoldering corpses serve as a message for any raiders. Nice. And also the friendly neighborhood necromancer. What he lacks in looks, he makes up for in being a really friendly guy who's happy to raise an undead army. And hot damn, I got just a pile of corpses for the occasion. One easily won battle later, and I can now focus on securing my legacy and getting married. I can choose to marry for beauty or love, but the thing I love most is power. I arranged to marry the most powerful princess, as in she's literally a giant and could kick down my castle walls if she wanted. I like that. As king, I called the Pope himself to conduct my marriage. I realized I should do something about that necromancer I have locked away in my basement and have him quickly executed. Excited about my big day, I meet the Pope, who's a lot less excited to meet me, as he knows about the genocide and dark magics. He lists off my surprisingly long list of crimes I've committed in the past week before turning me into a smoldering corpse. What I quickly learned is everyone in this game has a seriously long memory. Help someone out, and in your moment of need, you might find they'll return the favor. Refuse a neighboring country's plague-riddled messenger, and you can expect that will cause some trouble. And I don't care how much the sweet princess seems to be coming onto you. If you killed all of her people, she's probably up to something. My next run wasn't about improving my kingdom, it was about making a statement. I commit every atrocity I can. I slaughter the people, raise the dead, and cause a cave-in, just for good measure. I still court the ice giant, and when it's time for us to get married, I can't get a much less deadly local priest to marry us, but instead, I call the Pope to wed us again. This time, as he approaches the castle, he finds my army waiting for him and his would-be kingslayers. After the battle, we have captured the Pope and killed all of his men. He has some very mean words to say, which I expected, but also refuses to wed us, which I really should have expected. At this point, I've done some terrible things, so let's go ahead and do some more, and I torture him. I've only been king for 2 hours, and I have become a monster.
It is the monster match.
But what I lack in empathy, I make up for in results. The Pope finally cracks and weds me and my lovely queen. He also curses me to live a nightmare cycle of death and rebirth, always coming to gruesome ends before I can achieve my goals. Something about that feels familiar, but I don't think about it as it's time to celebrate my marriage. The theme? Church service and irony. So enough to say, it's pretty impressive the amount of freedom this game gives you. You can create alliances with neighboring countries or conquer them. You can invest in your people's towns or tax them into the ground, and you can steal goats. It's pretty petty for a king to steal a simple goat, but I have been assured Harold is a very good goat. The game is still being updated, which is wild as it would take an incredibly dedicated player just to see all the content that's already here. All in all,
it is good to be the king.
It is good to be the king.